Playing professional sports is the dream of just about anybody who's ever played any type of sport at any level, be it Pop Warner football or Little League baseball or softball, whatever sport you want to pick. Little kids and adolescents and all the way up through to adults always either dream about playing professionally or think that it would be a dream job or something to a goal to attain. And I'm not sure of a golfer that I've ever talked to or known, regardless of their skill level, that didn't think that playing golf at the highest level on the PGA Tour would just be the ultimate dream job, or at a minimum as playing as a professional. And it just so happens that today's guest has done that for his entire career. He has played on the PGA Tour. He's played on the now Korn Ferry Tour. He's played in Asia. He's played in Europe, Latin America. He's won at various places. The only thing that probably supersedes his record is his reputation as being one of the best guys that you could ever meet. He's a local from here in the Low Country, to be more particular. He is born and grew up and still lives in Savannah, Georgia. And in case you haven't figured out who that is yet by those clues or those hints, my guest today is Mr. Tim O'Neill. And Tim has experienced some of the highest highs winning at the professional level. He's won numerous times, for example, in Latin America. And if some of you who are diehard golf fans will remember back in 2000 when Tim was about 7 under on the day, made a big run at getting his PGA Tour card and made a double bogey on the last hole because he thought he needed birdie. And missed out on his card by one shot. If that wasn't hard enough to swallow, fast forward a couple years after that in 2004, he lipped out for his putt on the last hole, which would have gotten him his tour card. But he has persevered. He has played in a number of tour events. He's played, like I said, over 150 Korn Ferry events and all around the world, multiple winner in Latin America. And just one of the best guys that you're ever going to meet, whether it's in the golf world or just in the world in general. And that reputation is around the professional world and the playing industry. And anyone that Tim comes in contact with has said the same thing, that you will not find a better, nicer human being on the planet. We talk a lot about what it is like to play professional golf, from getting started as a young kid. For him, it was in Savannah with his parents. And Tim tells a story of how his dad laid the foundation that really was very strong fundamentally in his development that carried him through his career. We also talk about something that not a lot of people are aware of, and that's the obtaining of sponsors. And the cost of playing professional golf is not cheap. I'm not going to jump into that here in the intro, let you all listen to Tim, but he shines some very bright light on that topic that not many people are aware of. And then just the trials and tribulations of a career spent in and around playing professional golf. As I mentioned, the highs and the lows, the hard work that goes into it, and just about anything that you might want to know about playing golf at the highest level. So Tim's really going to endear himself to all of you, and I hope that I was able to bring out in this show what a great human being he is. I'm anxiously watching as he approaches 50, as well are a lot of locals here in the Low Country and a lot of his fans. Him getting on the Champions Tour and doing a lot of playing very well and doing a lot of good for he and his career, and we can't wait to see that happen. So, as always, please sit back, relax, and give a big, big Golf 360 welcome to my guest today, professional golfer, Mr. Tim O'Neill. What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Golf 360 podcast. I'm the host, Pete Popovich. So you may be asking yourself, what is Golf 360? And Golf 360 is a show that was designed to introduce you to people associated with the game of golf to help you improve not only at your game, but also your life. Almost all of our guests are from within the industry in some way, shape, or form, but some of the guests we have are from outside the industry, and it mainly revolves around the business world with a few others scattered in here and there. Now, all of the guests that we have a few things in common. One, they all were highly successful and accomplished in their field. Two, each has something to pass along that will help you in your game and your life. And three, they were all more than willing to give back by passing along the things that they use to help them in their career and even some of the mistakes that they made so that others don't make them in their journey. So I hope you find listening to them as enjoyable as I did interviewing them, and that each and every one of you benefits from the information that they so willingly and graciously pass along. Hey everybody, I want to give a big shout out to a new sponsor of the Golf 360 podcast, and that's Affinity Wealth Management Group. We all work exceptionally hard for our money, and none of us can afford to let that fall into the dark abyss of the big box financial service firms and their jack of all trades and master of none mantra, which basically means you become a number within a cookie cutter model that's also often accompanied by massive fees. Your future deserves more than average returns and little attention. At Affinity Wealth Management, they ensure that your financial goals receive highly individualized, tailored attention from experts, not just advisors, who are in the industry to be great and not average. As a client of Affinity Wealth, you receive a customized solution to your customized life, keeping in mind your family's financial situation, values, and risk tolerance. Call Affinity Wealth today for a no-cost consultation with one of their experts at 724-754-8200. Again, that's 724-754-8200. Or you can also check them out on the web at www.affinitywealthmg.com. That's AFFINITYWEALTHMG.com. This podcast is brought to you in part by Just Thrive Probiotic. You may be surprised to learn that your digestive system is the key to creating and maintaining the quality of your physical, mental, and emotional health, and it's one of the body's most essential systems. That's why the majority of nutritionists today highly recommend probiotics as an indispensable nutritional supplement. As a discriminating consumer, you've probably been searching for a probiotic that is proven, potent, and effective, and you found it. Just Thrive is your best choice for maintaining a healthy lifestyle. Just Thrive Probiotic captures the power of hundreds of thousands of years of nature's design with a specialized Bacillus strain formulation that guarantees survivability through the stomach and upper digestive system. Supports optimum gut health, digestive health, immune health, and delivers antioxidants. Great for adults, kids, and the whole family. Use promo code GOLF360 at www.thriveprobiotic.com for 10% off your order. All right, I got a very, very cool guest for everybody. Anyone in the Low Country, you know him. He's like a celebrity around here. Mr. Tim O'Neill, welcome to the Golf 360.
Oh, glad to be on Golf 360 this morning. And definitely glad to be talking to you finally for the first time in a while.
Right. And as we were talking before we came on, it's been almost 16 years almost since we actually were together, and we played in Raleigh at the back then, the nationwideweb.com. I don't remember what it was. You know, I remember that day because that was my first bigger event that I'd gotten into. And I had gone to the 10th tee. I think it was on Tuesday because Monday and Wednesday were still practice rounds. And
Right.
there was a guy kind of making sure that people weren't going out as singles and just clogging things up. And so I said, I'm here to play my practice round. He said, well, there's a guy coming across the parking lot right now. I would like to pair you up with him. I said, okay. And I look over, and there's this guy with this giant belt buckle on and coming towards us. And I said, that's Tim O'Neill. And he says, yeah, I think it is. So that was my introduction to you formally. I mean, that was pretty cool.
That's when I was wearing that JL stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that thing. I wanted to ask you, how the hell do you shift your weight when you got a belt buckle that big, kind of anchoring you down?
Yeah, I think they a few years after that they started making those belt buckles a little bit smaller.
Mm-hmm. So it's been a long time since then. You're still playing. My career path has gone in different directions. But to tell everybody that has followed you or has been a fan of yours, what you're up to now, especially that we're coming out of COVID, and where you're going to be playing and things like that.
Well, I was playing down in Latin America. You know, they're still having some tournaments and stuff. I'm not going down to play Latin America. They still have a bunch of COVID restrictions, and I'm just not comfortable going down to South America. And in 2019, I went over to the European tour school, made it to finals. and then I ended up getting Challenge Tour status, which Challenge Tour is like the equivalent of Korn Ferry over here in the States. And then COVID hit in 2020. I was in the first two tournaments in South Africa. I didn't go, super expensive. And then, because I was early in the year, right before COVID hit. And then when COVID hit, that was a wrap. I wasn't going to go over to Europe because you couldn't. And so now, fast forward now, I'm just playing some tournaments. I just made it past locals of my U.S. Open at Long Cove. Um, so I'm getting ready for the sectional here in about a week or so, at Long Cove again.
Mm,
And
makes it
yeah,
easier.
yeah. Well, I played in the U.S. Open in 16 at Chambers, and I got through at Woodmont in Maryland,
Mm-hmm.
and
God,
that was a
that's a
hard.
tough one. All the
Yes,
tour
and that
pros
was
are
a
there.
right, and that was a hard choice because I really liked the course, but I was kind of in a situation where I wanted to do the qualifier for the Palmetto tournament. That's the Canadian Open. They're moving it to South Carolina, so I couldn't do the qualifier in Maryland and do the qualifier for the Palmetto. So what they did was the USGA moved one of the sectionals to Long Cove, so guys getting done with Palmetto could just stay in Hilton Head and do the sectional. So I'm doing that so I can kind of kill two birds with one stone. So that's what I have coming up right now. And I'm 48 years old. I turned 49 in August, and I'm still grinding, playing well,
Mm-hmm.
and just still doing my thing.
You know, as you mentioned, you went to Woodmont. And for those of you who don't know, Woodmont for the U.S. Open sectional, which is the 36 hole qualifier to get in U.S. Open. It's the hardest place because there's always a tour event close by, and all the guys who are not exempt into the U.S. Open always go to that one. It's the hardest one almost every year to get through, and
Yeah.
and now you're doing the one at Longco, which is going to be basically the same thing. It's just the tour event is in our region.
Right.
Is that by design that you want to challenge yourself to play against the best to get into the biggest tournament, or is it just happened to be that way? Because someone
Well,
that is as your accomplishment, it's a different mindset that I'd like to get into later, but just to kind of touch on it early on here.
well, I was just like I said, I was kind of torn because at Woodmont, I know what to expect. I know the golf course, and I like the golf course. So, for me, I was really torn because I know it when you kind of know what to expect when you go to these courses. Over the years, you kind of know the score you're going to have to shoot. And now, when they added that event, they added it to Long Code. No one's ever been there. I don't know, have any idea what the scores are going to be like. Um, I don't know how many spots they're going to have. So I was kind of torn, but that was the only way that I could do to qualify for that PGA Tour event and do sectional without kind of being all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
The good thing is, wherever you go, you're going to have to play well. But I might have a few things working in my favor as far as the guys that do choose Long Cove. A lot of guys haven't seen it, so that might be a little bit to my advantage. Still gonna have to play good, so you know, just go out there and and try to shoot the lowest score possible and hope that it's good enough to get in. Hopefully, I can get one of those spots. But it was a hard decision because I really like Woodmont in Maryland. But like I said, for me to kind of do both, I had to kind of switch it because if I had a few more days where I could do Woodmont, I probably wouldn't have changed it because I like the course so much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot to be said for knowing a course, especially at that level, and Long Cove in particular, because when they redid the greens, there's a lot of movement in those things now.
Yes.
And I'm sure I wish you all the best, and I'm sure everybody here locally in the Low Country is going to be pulling for you hard. To love to see you get another U.S. Open.
Yeah, that would be great. I was out at Torrey earlier this year. I had an event out there at Torrey, and then man, it'd be awesome to get back out there for the U.S. Open.
Mm-hmm. And where's the for the Congaree, the Canadian Open? Where's the qualifier for that one?
Okay, so the pre-qualifier is going to be at Oldfield, and then the actual qualifier was going to be at Belfair. I think the West course.
Cool. Are they letting people come out? I mean, I live
Uh,
across the street from Belfair. I'd come out and follow you, root you on a little
oh,
bit, give you some,
I,
give you all the help
I,
I can, support.
I, I, I have no idea.
I'll find out. I'll call the guys over there in the shop.
Yeah, and I've so I'm gonna have to get out to Belfair too because I haven't played out there probably 5 or 6 years. So
I'll
kind
get you
of
in touch with some of the members that are friends of mine over there and connect you with them. They're really good guys. In fact, one of them's son is playing for the Savannah Bananas.
oh really?
Yeah, he's doing really well over there. But now he's at, I think he's been playing on a team in LaGrange. I think the Bananas have been off or something like that. But he's doing
Okay,
really, really well. And I'm sure
nice.
he'd be happy to help you out and get a practice round over there. And Jeff's lived over there for years. He can show you the ins and outs of the course.
Man, that'd be nice. I've been working out a little bit with Bruce Wilkins over at Belfair. I haven't been on the course.
Mm-hmm.
I've just been seeing him a little bit. So yeah, that would be great if I could get out on the course a couple times before that qualifier.
Sure.
I really appreciate that one.
We mentioned Congaree. Have you been up there to play?
I haven't. I haven't played Congaree and I haven't played Ohoopee either. And everyone keeps telling me about it, but I haven't seen either one of them.
Congaree is a beautiful place. I mean you're going up. Was it 462 highway? And you could blow past the entrance and never even know it. It's so laid back, low keyed.
Right.
But the road winding in, because I guess it's 300 years old or pushing 300, and some of the oak trees that line the road, the diameter's got to be 16 feet wide.
Oh,
And I asked some of the guys in the shop because I played there the first time about 2 months ago, and I said, "How
okay.
old are those trees?" And they said they had an arborist out. He, as best he could tell, about 250 to 275 years old. So
Are you kidding?
it's a really, really cool place. And the architecture that they did, they have the old, I guess General Sherman burned down the original house, but they
Uh-huh.
moved a house that I would guess is about 4,000 square feet. So from somewhere else in Ridgeland to that spot, and they put it there, and it's been there since 1890. And then they kept the old. There's an old building for the old slave quarters behind it that they tuned it up because it's such a historical monument, so to speak.
Okay.
Then there's another little house behind that. They have a little cemetery that's like they said that's the dog cemetery because it was a big. They used to do a lot of hunting hogs and deer and things like that. But the clubhouse and the pro shop are in the same architecture. I mean, it's almost like you'd think the whole place was there for the last couple hundred years.
Wow.
The
There's a lot of
Yeah, the course it's extremely nice and it's maintained, of course, immaculately. And I played one or two up tees because the guys I was with were all 60 or over. Um, but they can stretch that place out, I think, to like 75, 7,600. So
okay.
if it plays fast and firm, it's a very good test. A buddy of mine played up there with Matt Kuchar about 2 or 3 weeks ago. He's my buddy's a member, and said Kuchar said, yeah, this is if they play this thing fast and firm, the scores will not be very low.
Wow.
But you'd love it. I'm trying to think of another course around here that would kind of be comparable, and I really can't think of one. Maybe the back nine on at Ford Plantation is probably somewhat similar.
Okay. I go out there
Yeah,
a
I know
little
you
bit.
play out there quite a bit.
Yeah.
And I
Okay.
mean, someone might listen to this and say I'm out of my mind, but I'm just running through my head the courses in our area that might somewhat resemble Congaree, and the back nine at Ford would be the closest I could come up with.
Okay.
But yeah,
Okay.
you'll like it. Yeah, really hope you get in there. Be good to see you continue on your success.
Man, I really appreciate it. I'm definitely looking forward to it. It's just just a matter of me, just making some putts really. I'm hitting it pretty good and it always comes down to the putt if I'm rolling it good, I definitely like my chances.
Mm-hmm. And you've been playing, like you said, Latin American tour, and one of my cousins, he was playing on that for a while. He told me, he goes, because I told him, he asked who's coming on next. I said Tim O'Neill's coming. He said, well, tell Tim I said hi. He said, you probably won't remember me. There was about 10 of us or so in a house down in Latin America. But he said, yeah, Tim's a great golfer. I said, I'll be sure to pass that along. His name's Nick Grubnich. I don't know if you might recognize that name or not, but
Yeah. So did he stay with us like DR or
I
somewhere?
think so. Yep.
I think that was the week I won.
It's probably why he
Yeah,
thinks the world of you.
yeah, we played the that was 2015, I think. We played the Teeth and the Dog, and yeah, it was like, yeah, we had this big house, nice house. We Airbnb'd, and yeah, I think I won that week at Teeth of the Dog. It was nice. It was a really good week.
You won multiple times down in Latin America. And I couldn't put together if it was 3 times last year or 3 times over the last couple of years. I mean, not
Well,
last year, but a year before.
I won twice. I won twice in 13, and then I won once in 15, and that was DR.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and then I lost in the playoff once.
And do you find that you've gotten better as you've gotten older, or is it just getting smarter or managing your game better? What is, or did you find that you played better when you were younger? You know, because you've had success in your 40s, right?
Yeah, I think it was all the above. To be honest, just the longer you play, and the older you get, you tend to get to know yourself a little bit better, and how you feel under pressure, and how to handle being under pressure, and your misses and all that. So I think all the above, just playing smarter, knowing my game a little bit better. um when you're young, you just kind of just shoot at every pin and just kind of just go after it, but that sometimes that's not the smart play.
Right.
And as you get older, you learn how to, okay, maybe I shouldn't shoot at that back left pin with a 5 iron with water left of the green.
Mm-hmm.
So you just start playing a little bit smarter, and you learn from your mistake. You're always learning in golf. So it's just a matter of just, for me, just getting myself in position to have a chance to win. And I've been able to do that a few times. And if you get beat, you get beat if you play well. But it's just a matter of just playing smarter, and not playing so aggressive, which comes with just course management.
You've had success at every level. You played at Jackson State, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right?
Yes.
Right. And you
Yes.
won a number of times in college.
Yes.
You won the Georgia Amateur in the late
Yes.
'90s. You played in, best I could remember, about 7 PGA Tour events, 7 to 10, somewhere in there.
Yep.
Um, I think on the homework I did said about 150 plus Corn Ferry events. You played all over the world, Asia. You said Europe, South Africa. Can you speak to the learning curve going from being good locally to playing in college to winning in college to playing at an amateur super high level, and then at the pro ranks, going from mini tour to establish, like a Corn Ferry Tour, PGA Tour. Can you just speak to the developmental and learning curve of those levels?
Well, for me personally, going to Jackson State, Jackson State wasn't known for like being like a golf powerhouse or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
We played good tournaments. We played in the Southwest Conference, so we played against like SMU, Texas Christian. So we played some good tournaments. But when when I decided to start playing for a living, there was a little bit of a learning curve. Just a lot of it was like, am I getting in over my head, and then just getting comfortable, really. And like I said earlier, just kind of, trying to figure it out, learning myself. And then you have to learn how to travel, because when I first turned pro, I was pretty much by myself. So I had to learn how to travel, alone, and book flights, hotels, and all that kind of stuff. And then
It's a
as
lot
the year,
different, isn't it, than
oh
college,
my
where
God.
they're out there saying, "Hey, here's your itinerary. Just show up here and bring your bag and don't forget anything."
You're right, right. So, that, you have to learn all that stuff. I mean, I had to learn all that stuff kind of on the fly.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have anyone to kind of take me under their wing and say, hey, you need to do this, you need to do that. So, like I said, I had to kind of learn that stuff on my own. And, and then especially it changes a little bit when you start going out of the country, booking hotels there. And like when we're going down to Latin America a couple times, they give you like a host hotel to choose from. And then not a few times, but one time we decided, okay, we're not going to stay at the host. We're gonna use Priceline, and we get this hotel, and we're in Bogota, and it didn't have any AC, and it is really hot. So we had to change into the hotel that week. So it's just little stuff like that, that you have to learn. And when you're out of the country, you have to be careful of food, what you might eat.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another whole element. You don't want to be out of the country and have to go to the hospital because you got sick or food poison or something just didn't agree with you. So there's a lot of things that you have to think about and learn um, as you turn professional, especially when you start playing out of the country. So yeah, and then I had to learn how to my bad rounds, how to get it to the house. If it wasn't going well, you just try to get it in an even par or maybe one over when you don't have your stuff, and just stay really patient. So there's a lot of growing up I had to do pretty quick, and I learned from it. That's one thing about golf. You have to be honest with yourself. What are you doing good? What are you doing bad? And you have to always work on them. So you're always working on stuff. At the end of the year, like I didn't do good. I didn't do this good this year. How do I get better at that? You want to make your weakness your strength if you can. So, and as years pass, you get a little bit better each year. And that was the goal, just try to get a little bit better each year. And, I kind of did that. And then, the mental aspect too, you just have to be mentally strong, when you turn pro as well. Cause you're gonna have some adversity out there while you're playing. Everyone does. Um, some different than others, but it's just a lot of stuff that you just have to learn as you go along.
Yeah, it's life, right?
It is.
As you go from being a uh, young kid, and you, you grow up in the same community. I grew up for 20 some years in Michigan. You growing up in Savannah, and then you get out into the world, and everything's different in a little bit different ways that can throw you off. And now you're trying to play at the highest level. And I always gave all the credit to the guys in the world that traveled internationally on like you did to Latin America or Europe or Asia, because I thought it was hard enough playing in the U.S. Either
Right.
chasing Mondays or Hooters or uh, Tar Heel Tour, whatever it was. I said it's hard enough finding my way around my own country and language, and then playing in an event and trying to play against guys who are trying to beat your brains in. And
Right.
then to go to do it in a country you don't know where you're going, you don't speak the language and everything else. It's like, man, I couldn't have done it.
I look back on that, and I enjoy being out of the country. I just wish that I would have did it earlier out of college, when I didn't have any responsibilities. Because when, I started going out of the country, I had kids, and then, you don't want to be gone, you know, away too long because you have kids and they have school and stuff like that. So that was another whole thing right there. That if only thing I wish I could have changed, I wish I would have went out of the country like right out of school to kind of, because if you can play out of the country, I believe that when you come back to the States, you can play anywhere. So especially like playing in Europe, you learn how to play all over the world, and then when you come back to the States, I think it just makes you better.
Mm-hmm. Before I get too far in your playing career, let me back up to you. You got started. Your folks both played golf. Is that right?
Yes, yeah, my parents played, and they got me started playing when I was like 5 years old.
As I was reading a little bit on that, one of the things we have in common, if I'm not mistaken, your dad made you play the par three until you were good enough to go onto the big course. And as I was reading, I was laughing because I started playing with a friend of mine at on the par three, and the big course was, of course, on the other side of the putting green. And my dad told me, he said, "You're not going on that big course till you can shoot 40 or lower on that par three." And and at that time, the last two holes, one was 195 yards, another one was two. The last hole was 215, and the greens were so small. They
Right.
might have been maybe 20 feet wide, but it was a circle, right? Just a
Right.
part, and they were all domed. And there was, I don't know if I could break 40 on that course now. Because those last two holes, I mean, and you can't even see the green. You're just hitting at the flag down there, and it's like, and then you got a chip. I was 10 years old, 9 years old, or whatever I was, and you're trying to chip to a dome green. Um, you don't have any controller touch at that age when you're getting started. And I could never, ever, I think I got to like 42 or something. He finally said, okay, come on. That was about 2 or 3 years it took me. And he said, all right.
Okay.
And I think he just wanted someone to play with on the big course. And I had known enough of the, uh, how to conduct myself playing golf. So he felt comfortable enough. But I remember, one time a buddy of mine and I rode our bikes to a local old 9-hole course that, God, today it'd be a pitch and putt. I think the par five was like 450 yards or 60 yards back then. Um, and I did it without my dad knowing. And looking back, I know why he didn't want me on the big course, because I was so overwhelmed. The first hole was 350 yards, and here I am. The longest hole I'm playing is 200, and I
Uh-huh.
just tried to swing out of my shoes every shot, and I don't think I even broke 50. Um, so I mean, there's a reason, and you're a kid and you never know. But not to get on my story, but your folks played and they got you involved in golf.
Yeah, so you're exactly right. My dad was always like, I'm not taking you on the big course until, because when you go to the regular golf course, he didn't want to be that guy out there with a kid that was topping it off the tee and
Mm-hmm.
and not just clogging up the course. So he was like, I'm not taking you on the big golf course until you can play, you can hit, every time. So I grew up playing. We had a par three here in Savannah, so I grew up playing out there, and then when I finally went to the big course, I played. I started playing from the ladies' tees with my mom. So, but that didn't last very long because I didn't want to play from the ladies' tees. So then that didn't last very long at all. So then I finally moved back to the tees with him. I was still pretty young though. I was probably maybe 10 or 11, and then I went from there, and then and then just kind of went from there. But yeah, that was I didn't know why he was doing that until as I got older, then I understood.
Mm-hmm.
But you have people out there that don't know what they're doing or whatever, and he didn't want that, and I had to learn the game too. So um yeah, so that's exactly right. I learned how to play on a par three, and then it kind of went from there.
Well, it sets a very good foundation. It's kind of like, when I'm working with a student and they're really having trouble with their swing, and I will tell them, if you have the mental fortitude to do this, I want you to go slow motion swings without a ball. Even do
Right.
it in your house, right? So you can, you're not, the brain is an interesting thing where no matter how much you think you're going to focus on what you're doing and not worry about where the ball goes, we're all golfers and we're all human. You hit a ball crooked, and then all of a sudden your brain's going to kick into overdrive.
Yeah.
So you tell them, hey, start here at the most basic fundamental, and your development will happen much. It'll be stronger and it'll be faster. And the ones
Right.
that do, their growth is accelerated. And how your parents did that for you set, I think, a very strong foundation. Would you agree?
Oh, most definitely, most definitely. And it just so when it was time for me to go to the big golf course, I was definitely I was ready. I was a little overwhelmed, because it was just longer holes, but I soon got the hang of it and just kind of hit the ground running after that.
I was Mark Silvers. I was talking to
Yes.
him last night, and I he's coming on, I think, next week, and another local guy is great to have on.
Yep.
Um, and he was saying how he was younger than you and I, but he remembers growing up playing at Bacon Park. You and
Yes.
Tommy Schaff, and he said you were the
Yep.
older guys, but he really looked up to you guys, and he said that was kind of where all of you guys really got a chance to play all the time and learn and grow and have a good time hanging out with guys and buddies,
Yep.
developing those friendships.
Yeah. I remember Mark as a junior golfer, and growing up at Bacon Park. You know, Bacon Park is pretty much where during the summertime, my mom would drop me off at the golf course, 8, 9 o'clock during the summer. And and I'd be out there all day until dark, and that was just what we did. I remember plenty of days walking 36 holes, sometimes walking 45 holes, but
In
that's
the
what we did as
summer.
kids in the summertime and
Woo.
hot. Yeah. I was just telling someone the other day, I was like, in the summertime when I was a kid, it didn't bother me at all. But like, I don't, if it's the summertime now, I get out on the course really early because like 12, 1 o'clock, I am not on the golf course.
Uh-uh.
Not at all. But yeah, I remember Mark, and you know, there were a lot of junior golfers in Savannah. You know, the time that Mark was playing and when I was playing. I don't. There's not as many in Savannah as it used to be. But and I think that's one of the things too why I stayed on the golf course so long, because it was always a group of us, so we were just out there all day.
Mm-hmm.
Fun.
Yeah, like you say, you don't see a whole lot of that nowadays. I think there's so many distractions for kids, uh,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah, like your cell phones and Instagram and all that kind of stuff. I play with these kids now. Um, During the tournament, and just say if we're walking, you'll see guys walking in the tournament sometimes, and they'll be on Instagram while they're playing. Like I don't get that, but that's just the day and age that we live in now.
yeah, the challenge for attention, for people's attention, has hit astronomical levels. When in the '80s, the only thing you had was the golf course or whatever
Right,
sport you were playing, and you went and did that all day long. There was nothing else pulling you away. Um,
right.
it just kind of makes me wonder what's going to happen 10 years from now. Are the athletes? I guess the athletes are going to be as good because everything's so specialized that they're doing nowadays.
Yeah,
But I think that they lose that the camaraderie and the friendship building maybe that you and I grew up with.
yeah,
As you just said, as you're out there all day and all you're doing is playing golf from sun up to sundown.
yeah. And you're talking to each other. You aren't texting anything like that. But
Mm-hmm.
just kids now, as far as golf, you know, I've seen a lot from the first time I went to Q school to going to Q school now. I was just telling a friend of mine the other day, I remember you go to first stage of Q school, you shoot, 4 or 5 under par, kind of breeze through first stage of Q school, and I've seen that. And then now, if you aren't double digits under par at first stage of Q school, there's a chance you might not get through. And I
Right.
was like, it is unbelievable how much better these kids are now. I don't know if it's just technology with TrackMan and Body Track and everything. Kids nowadays, they just know where their ball's going. Kids are longer. It's crazy. It's scary. And I'm glad I'm about to turn 50 in a couple of years, because it's scary out there. I mean, guys are good, really good.
And I think that goes across all sports. I used to play a lot of golf with Mark Messier and his brother and his dad because they used to have a house in Hilton Head, and in the summer, of course, is their off season, and I used to talk to them a lot because his brother played professional hockey as well, and talking about the young kids coming up in today's world versus guys that when they played. Now, when they played, it was there was a lot more fighting and roughhousing and things like that. But they said the kids nowadays are bigger, stronger, faster, more advanced at a younger level, and it's happening in golf. It's happening in hockey. I think it's happening in every sport.
Right.
And look at football. You go back to the '70s or '80s with the old Steeler teams and Dallas Cowboys, and some of those guys would just get run over probably today with the size of the players.
Yeah. Yeah. It's scary. You got a guy 230, 240 that can run a 4.4.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's scary.
You had mentioned the difference in the kids where they're hitting it longer and everything's straighter. I can distinctly remember the 2 years that I played full time was 2001, and that was right when the Pro V1 came out. Um, and then things were starting to change then with the Pro V1 because it was going so much longer. And then I went
Yeah.
back in '05 and '06, and you were playing that whole time. And what I noticed was uh, more or less the thought process completely changed, where it was just the bomb and gouge era by 2005 was in full swing.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so, can you speak that a little? Because you were playing that entire time. Can you how did your game change with the advancement of technology, with the balls and the drivers and everything else, to where maybe you grew up learning to move the ball high, low, left, right, and now it's more of a, okay, just hit it as hard as you can and go find it.
Yeah, so you're right. So in 2001 was my first season when it was called the Buy.com tour.
Mm-hmm.
And they came out with the was it the professional or was it the Pro V1?
The professional was a wound, but it was much longer than the Tour Bellata. But then, yeah, the Pro V1 came out. I think like 2000. It was, I think, introduced on the big tour in Vegas in October, and I think it
Okay.
was out to like you guys on Buy.com, and then I was playing DP Tour back then. Heath
Okay,
Slocum's
so
dad had started that one.
y- yeah, yeah, I remember that. I remember that
And
tour.
then it kind of
So
filtered down to us, and then it was out to the masses shortly after that.
yeah, so when they changed that ball, the big thing was I remember back then, there was with the Titleist, it was a seam.
Yes, you could seam it into the wind.
Right. So they had to fix that, but like, because you just say, obviously you're playing it down in a tournament, and if you hit it on the seam, sometimes they go a little further. So they fixed that, sometime later. But yeah. So back then, that's when it started to change, and then so 2005, that's when I really started to notice, because I was one of the longer guys back then. And then 2005, I roomed a lot with Bubba Watson.
Mm-hmm.
So, I actually played a lot of practice rounds with him and watching him like shape the ball all over the place. Um, and he's one of the few guys that still shapes it a lot. But most guys now, the way everything is designed, it's not made to curve the ball. Not as much as he was doing it. But it definitely started changing because guys just started bombing it as close as they could to the green. And if you hit it in the rough, you had sand waves, you can just chop it out. So it wasn't really a big deal. And I don't think much has changed from that. Even now you look at like the U.S. Opens and stuff. It's going from the typical U.S. Opens where it's tight fairways and a lot of rough. When I qualified at Chambers, it's just wide open. Like there's a lot of bunkers, but um, I think the tour has kind of tailored to the guys that kind of bomb it. And
Good for ratings, isn't it?
oh my God, yeah. Just I mean, even this week, I mean, it's the tour has definitely changed. That's what people want to see. They want to see Dustin Johnson and you know Shambo, hit it 350. Um, so it's just the game. The game has definitely changed.
Yes, there's no doubt about that. It's going to be interesting to see what it does going forward. With all the talk about curtailing the ball or technology, but
Yeah, I don't know how they're going to do that. I mean, because if they dial the ball back, the long guys are still going to be long, right?
mm-hmm.
So I mean, the only thing I can see them doing, um, just I mean, tighten the fairways. You
Yeah,
don't you
tighten
don't
the
see
fairways, grow up the rough. I mean, it's
yeah
not rocket
exactly
science.
yeah. I mean, it's not yeah, exactly. It's not rocket science. So, but just like I said, people want to see those guys bomb it. I mean, I get it.
Yeah, you're a bomber. It makes total sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, they don't want to see Roy McIlroy out there hitting two irons.
Mm-mm.
They want to see him hit the driver. I want to see him hit it too.
But when you playing professional golf is not inexpensive. Takes a lot of money, right? You got it, and some people might not understand that at the smaller tour levels, the developmental tours, you're basically playing for the entry fee is what the purse is.
Right.
When you get to like you did, Buy.com and Web and Corn Ferry and any other name that you want to put in there now, and the tour events you got to, the entry fees are lower, but your travel costs are much higher.
Correct.
And then what a lot of people don't realize is, you've got your your home and if you have a family like you did, those expenses don't just go away because you're playing pro golf. So what I'm
Correct.
getting at is it takes some help. Can you speak to how either you went about getting sponsors, and maybe sheds a little bit of light on the breakdowns of payouts between the two, because it varies across the board. But a lot of people out there listening who might be local club golfers don't have an idea about that, and you've obviously done it for a very long time.
Yeah. Um, so typically, if you're playing like so the tour that a lot of guys play now, G Pro Tour or Swing Thought Tour. Swing Thought Tour used to be the old Hooters Tour. So typically, your entry fee for those tournaments are going to be about $1,000
Mm-hmm.
for your entry fee, um, and then if you have to drive there, you have to pay for your gas, and sometimes, very few times, they may have host housing, but that's kind of few and far between. So most of the time you have to get a hotel. So pretty much, um, it's going to cost you about anywhere from, depending on how far you have to go, um, around 1,600 uh, per week, just in expenses alone. And then, first place typically now for those tournaments are around 10,000. Sometimes they're a little bit more. So yes, it's you know, I always say this. I was like, you aren't going to make any money on the mini tours. I
Mm-mm.
mean, you're just if you have a good year, you might make a little money, but you're not really going to make any money. You're just you know trying to stay sharp, stay afloat, and then get through Q school, or you mix in some Monday qualifiers. If you get in a Corn Ferry event or a PJ Tour event and play well, then you can advance that way. But that's really hard too because everyone's good. So, um, I mean, and then on top of that, just say you have a swing coach, you have to pay him, and so there's a lot of costs that goes into professional golf, and then a lot of guys are doing the training thing with TPI certified, so you have to pay that guy. So and nowadays you have to do that stuff because everyone's doing it. You need a swing coach. I mean, things get a little sideways. You need someone to look at. So those are expenses that you just have to have. You're going to need that type of stuff. It's going to cost you roughly on the low end. If you have a household to take care of and rent or whatever you might have, it's going to cost you at least to do it comfortably about 70 to 80 thousand dollars a year.
Yeah, that's what I used to tell guys, and to do it correctly, meaning,
Right.
a lot of guys, and it's been years since I played. So back in 06, '07, I think was the last years I played. But I would tell guys that were coming out of school, I say, if you do it right, this is about 75,000 back then, and that
Correct.
included caddy, Q school. I said, you got to consider health insurance. And they said, oh, I don't need health insurance. I said, oh yeah, you want to be a pro athlete. If you get hurt, what are you going to do?
Right.
And then like, oh, I never, yeah. I mean, but that's someone who was in their 30s telling someone and had done it for years. Someone telling in their 20s. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's not cheap. And like you said, the mini tours, you got to play really really well to break even or win money. Spending eighty
You
thousand a
do.
year.
You do. And it's some people is like, man, that's awesome. You get to play golf for a living. I mean, it's you know it's good and bad, but like everyone. That's why everyone's trying to get to the PJ Tour because that's where you're really that's that's when it really gets fun, and you get a chance to make some money and enjoy it, I guess. But like it's a grind,
Mm-hmm.
when you're in your 20s, it's fun and you're just playing golf and having fun. But then when you start having responsibilities and you need to make money, it's definitely can be a grind. When I was playing down in Latin America tour, it was roughly $2,000 a week. That's your hotel, your flight, and all that. So it's expensive. There came a time before I was playing Latin America, I had to stop playing because I didn't have any sponsors or any money to play, and then I was able to kind of get things going and played well and made some money, but it is, it is rough sometimes. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's very stressful. I remember when my in '05, I was playing good in '05. I had a chance to win a couple events and just stumbled over myself in the final round. And then starting '06, I was looking at my budget and I okay, I better play well because I've got until this time, and then I'm going to be hurting for money. And I noticed you start to get a bad bounce here or there, and you don't let it roll off your back. You miss a putt you think you should have made, and it irritates you a little more. And for me, that just snowballed. And by the time I think May rolled around, my attitude was horrendous. And
Right.
both Tommy and Adam, we were all rooming together and hanging out together, and they said, "What are you can do?" I said, "Look, my attitude's gotten so bad. I'm just got to pull myself off. I don't even know where my budget is right now, but I've gotten myself such a mental mess." And you know that happens in life in people in their jobs, but at least your job, you're usually getting a paycheck every
Yeah.
couple of weeks or month. In golf, you're burning up money, as you just said, 2,000 a week. And
Yeah.
for those listening, that's just your expenses on the road. That doesn't count your rent or your mortgage, your electric bill,
No.
cable,
No.
kids, like you know.
No, and people don't realize that, you know, when I was my last year playing, so I played Corn Ferry. My last year full season was 14. Um, so like people don't realize out there, you know, you have to pay your caddy. Um, so the going rate when I first started playing uh nationwide tour was, you know, around $600-700. You know, that's just your caddy fee. That's right from the start,
Mm-hmm.
and then it depends on what you make. Now, it's 1,000 a week, and that's about average. Some guys pay a little bit more, so your caddy gets 1,000 for the week before you even tee it up. That's what he gets, and then you know you have your hotel fees. Out there, you can get housing, so you can cut some costs there. But then you know you have flights, so I mean you got to think about that. So it's very expensive. That's why everyone you know is trying to get to the show because that's where it's expensive. But then you can make that money to pay for that a little bit easier.
Yeah, and even so, if you would speak a little bit to like, okay, take a, a a ball shoe glove deal on the Corn Ferry. Um, what would that pay if you did well versus say if you did well at a PGA Tour event? Because
Oh,
on the developmental, for everybody to know, a company might give you gloves, shoes, and balls, or at least balls and whatever you can want to throw in there. But that you're not getting paid if you win. But when you go to Corn Ferry and up, you
yeah.
start to get some money for wins and things like that, right?
Yeah, so like I don't know exactly what it is now, but like so it used to be on the PGA Tour, just say when you used to could go through the Q school and just say you get your PGA Tour card. So
Mm-hmm.
roughly you're going to get anywhere in endorsements, just as standard endorsements, you're going to get roughly between 150 to $200,000 endorsements. That's you know your typical clubs, ball, shoe, glove, whatever on the PGA Tour. And if you win, um, it's like 100,000 if you win. Now, if you win a major, it's a lot more. Your bonuses, and now Corn Ferry, if just say same type of, so if you get Corn Ferry status, it used to be. So depending on what kind of agent you have, or you know, if you're a stud in college, you might get a more than a typical guy. But just say like typical deal would be on Corn Ferry. It might be a little different now. Might be around 40. That's on the good end, maybe 50. That's with everything. And then if you win, you might get a bonus of about 10,000. So it's a huge difference. Now some guys get a little bit more depending on if they were all American in college or just say they won the US AM or something like that. Their deals are going to be quite a bit bigger than a regular guy that you know that wasn't all American. But yeah, so there's a huge difference there as far as the endorsements that you might get versus Corn Ferry or PJ Tour. And then if you're playing the mini tours, Usually you're just getting product. You're getting, you might get clubs, balls and gloves, all that type stuff. It's free, but you don't get any money with that.
Unless you sell it on eBay.
Nah, you don't want to get caught doing that.
Right? I know
Really
when they put the serial numbers on there. I used to look at that stuff, and yeah, this one isn't going on. Even still today, if one of the reps sends me a pair of shoes or something, and someone said, well, if you don't like them, just put it on eBay. I said, yeah, guys are doing me favors. I'm not gonna risk that trust in
Yeah,
that relationship just to make a couple $100.
exactly. Because like, especially like I know Titleist, Scotty Cameron, you get a putter or whatever, you put that on eBay. They have guys watching that stuff. So, you sell something on eBay, and if it's a putter or something like that, and they see that it's you, you won't ever get one again.
Mm-hmm.
That'll
And
be the last
rightfully
one.
so. They should
Right.
do that. Um, one of the a lot of rumors about people who have higher profiles, you being one of them, and one of them was Will Smith was your sponsor at one point. Is that true?
Yes. Yes. And so my first year, I met a friend of Will in late 2000, mid 2000, that worked for Will, and then one thing led to the next. I got a chance to meet Will, and then he sponsored me. I started going to go see Butch Harmon in 2000,
Mm-hmm.
and then that's the year I missed getting my PGA Tour card by a shot, and then I played by .com that year. But yeah, that was great. I worked with Butch Harmon for a year, and he was awesome.
Yeah, he Jason Sutton, the golf guru, was on my show this week, and that's going to come out this weekend. And he had Butch on his show, and just the stories of listening to him talk about things, and his brutally honest mantra, so to speak.
Yeah,
And he's like, I'm dealing with guys who are playing for a living. If they're coming to me to get better, I've got to be able to tell them what they're doing, and then get them better. You're not going to beat around the bush and take time away from them when they could be playing and making money and doing some great things.
right.
How was that working with him?
Man, it was great. The thing about Butch is, I was raw. You know, I knew how to play, but like what Butch taught me was, um, he'd always tell me, he's like, Tim, when you're on the course, when you hit bad shots, I want you to know why you hit those bad shots, and when you hit good shots, why you hit those good shots. So like if something went sideways out there, I could kind of fix it on the fly, or at least get it to the house, and then work it on the range. So um, it definitely changed the way I thought about my swing, and just just golf in general. And like I said, like he was the first guy that I saw that said that. And man, he just a great guy to work with.
Mm-hmm.
Just like you said, he just tells you like it is, and I like that.
Was did you work with anybody growing up or in Savannah, or as you got into college and then turned pro? Was there anyone that helped you
A
along, or was
little
it
bit,
just?
like, I went to a few golf camps. I went to golf camp 2 summers in a row down at Bay Hill. It was the Arnold Palmer Golf Academy.
Mm-hmm.
I went 2 summers in a row, and then that's when I really started to get shoot some better scores. So I went from my first summer, I think I was maybe 12, and I was probably shooting. I was shooting in the 70s, and then after that first time I went to that camp, then I started shooting in the 60s sometimes, and then it just kind of got better from there. I shot my first 67 5 under par when I was 13.
Isn't that amazing how golfers can remember things like that?
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, so and then as far as Savannah, I worked with a few teachers here in Savannah, here and there. Um, but Butch was the first, high profile person that the Tiger was working with, and like I said, Butch was great.
Was he in Vegas then?
Yes, he was at Rio Seco. Yeah, I
And I
got a
think
chance
he's
to
still there.
a few times. Yeah, he's still there. Yep.
And you said that lasted for a year. Did you work with someone afterwards, or have you worked with someone in over the years, or is it just kind of monitoring and playing friends that are good players? Say, do you say, can you take a look at me? I'm just having a little trouble here, and because your swing's obviously very good, and it's not going to get too far off. But when you do get off, who do you go turn to for some help now?
I'm working with a guy too out of Charlotte, got a name older guy, black guy named James Black,
Mm-hmm.
really fundamental guy. And he has definitely helped me. And so I started working with Bruce a little bit here in the past 3 or 4 months because I don't, you know, as far as TrackMan and Body Track, I'd never really been on that kind of stuff. So I kind of wanted to see what that was all about. And Bruce has all that stuff, and the guy that I was working with in Charlotte, he doesn't have that technology, it's kind of more of feels. So when I want to, get with someone that knows how to read the TrackMan and those numbers, going to see Bruce was really good for me because, he'll explain, why this is happening with the numbers and what's going on. So, with the way golf is now, with all this technology, I figured I better start using some of it.
In looking back, have you maintained the more or less the swing that you grew up with, or were there some big changes along the way, or have you kept kind of, I guess, who you are intact as far as your
Yeah,
golf swing?
I've looked at some videos from like 20 years ago, and I was just telling a friend of mine, I was like, my swing hasn't, to the eye, it hasn't really changed that much at all. Maybe some tweaks here and there, some stuff I have to pay attention to, but from just looking at it from what it is now, it hasn't really changed that much at all.
That's good. Probably why you're still playing so well. You don't have a bunch of shit running through your head, and you know what I
I
mean.
know,
It's
right?
like there's a target. Here's where my ball is. Let me get it to there.
Yeah, I play with some guys that are just, they'll see a teacher here, a teacher there. Next thing you know, they're working with three teachers, and then they don't know what the hell's going on. So you don't want to go down that road. My DNA what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I just know there's certain things I have to keep an eye on, and from there, I try to keep it as simple as possible. That works for me. I'm not a guy that's going to try to overthink anything.
Right. Well, it keeps your focus on playing the game, and
Right.
and I would have to assume that but if we go back to earlier, that the foundation that your parents put into on, you're going to play the par three until you're good enough. That kind of set the stage for you seeking accomplishment in your own game as opposed to seeking accomplishment in swing.
Exactly.
Right. And
Exactly.
then playing 36, 45 holes a day as a kid. I mean, if that's the baseline, that everything that you have on top of it is set upon, then that's going to be your go-to. And it's just nice to hear that someone does that in today's world. It's good to utilize the technology. I think all the coaches now, that even the guys who really lean on the technology for a lot of their coaching, are coming around to the idea that, yeah, it's great, but you got to, at some point, you got to go put it to use. You got to put it in
Yeah.
action.
And it's like I was telling someone else, you hear these, a lot of the younger kids now, what they see, what we just talked about, how everyone's hitting it so much further, and guys get to chasing numbers and swing speed. That's all fine, but at the end of the day, I have I have friends of mine that have kids, that have sons, and they'll get me and say, can you talk to my son? Try to help him out because they won't listen to me. Typical dad and son won't listen to me. So it's like, and I go look at them, and then, and for the most part, most of these kids, they just try to hit it as far as they can.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, that's all good if you know where it's going. It's like, you're not going to make birdie from the woods,
No.
so a lot of kids don't understand, you know, chasing numbers and trying to get your swing speed to a certain speed, that's all fine. But if you don't know where your ball's going, you're defeating the purpose, and then you still got to get it in the hole.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a different game now. I'm not saying that I didn't swing hard when I was a kid, but I was never chasing a 118 swing speed. I hit it hard, but and that's what kids see, so that's what they want to do. It's like Steph Curry makes a lot of threes, so everyone shoots threes now.
Right. And I'm just, maybe I'm getting to be an old man, but I was watching, was it the NCAA tournament or one of the NBA games, and I messaged a buddy of mine who played. He got to the NBA and didn't. He ended up not staying there, but I said to him, has the NBA just gone to 1-on-1 or shoot a three in it? And then he called me. And I texted him. He called me a minute later and said, "You hit the nail on the head." And I said, "Well, golf, the young kids nowadays are just swinging as hard as they can and almost without recourse of where the ball ends up.
Right.
And if they want to play at a high level, I mean, you can do that. And if you're on for a week, maybe you win enough money to keep your card. But that's not what careers are built on.
No, no,
And I know
no.
there's a lot of contemporaries out there that might disagree with me. And here's the numbers to show this. I said, yeah, but life, you got to have some balance in there.
Yeah.
At some point, those kids have got to learn how to get the ball around the course and in the hole.
Right, right. Just like you said, maybe I'm just old school, and I just the way I think, but I'm like, it is, it is, it is what it is when it comes to that stuff. I'm not gonna, just like I said, sometimes I ask myself, I was like, when I was 15, did I swing like that? And I was thinking, I was like, I probably did, but you know what? I think I knew where it was going too,
Mm-hmm.
though.
You were for a long, when you came out, and the first time I saw you, not to pull up bad memories, but the first time I saw you was, I think, at the 2001 Q School out in La Quinta.
2000.
Okay, it's 2000, and
Yes.
because we were as we talked early on, and he's a friend of yours too. Todd Berenger was living here in Bluffton, and we played a lot of golf, and
Yes.
he had earned his status on the was it then Nationwide by.com? I can't remember. I lose track of all those names. But
Right.
and I think he shot 62 the first round, so he was like plastered all over TV, and Craig Can was
Right.
interviewing him. But then watching the final round, the camera switched over and said, "Hey, we're following this guy Tim O'Neill from Savannah, Georgia." And my brother and I kind of looked, "Hey, Savannah, Georgia, who is this guy?" It's good to see, great to see local guy doing well.
Right.
Uh, you don't have to talk about it if you don't want to. But
No, yeah, talk
kind
about
of
it.
to
Yeah.
tell everybody what happened, who maybe is newer to golf or wasn't following back then, because it was rough to watch, and I couldn't imagine how difficult it was to be in your shoes. But kind of tell us what most of us might not have known in seeing that, or ever
Well,
got to experience it.
so I forgot what I was going into the last round, which was 6 rounds back then.
Mm-hmm.
And so to kind of give you an idea, so like now at Q School, um, their scoreboards. Well, they started doing that a little later, but so there were scoreboards and there were leaderboards, and you kind of knew exactly where you stood as far as what you needed to do in the last hole. If you needed birdie or whatever. So in 2000, there wasn't any scoreboard or anything where I knew where I stood. So going into the final round, I didn't. I forgot where I was, but I was I was 8 under with 2 to play. That put me at about, I want to say 15, 16 under total
Mm-hmm.
for the week.
So you were 8 under
And
for the day on the final round.
yes, I was 8 under day on the final round, and I I bogeyed my 17th hole as a par three, so that put me at 7. So that put me at about 14 under par total.
Right around
So
the number.
right around the number, and I didn't know what the number was. So I get on 18. I made bogey. I'm thinking I needed to make birdie.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so long story short, pushed my drive, hit it in the water, off the tee. It did cross up there, and all I needed was bogey, and I would have got my card. Ended up making double.
Mm.
Um, and like if I would have known exactly where I stood, I was 2 shots clear. I would have probably never hit driver off the tee.
It's 7 iron, 7 iron, 7 iron.
Yeah, yeah. So I was playing well. Like I said, I had no idea. Like there was nothing to show me, hey, you're at this number, you're in by 2, and yeah. So after making you know bogey on my 17th hole and dropping the 7 under to like 15 under total, and then I totally screwed up the last hole, thinking I needed birdie, and I didn't need birdie. All I needed was bogey, and I would have been playing the PGA Tour in 2001.
How long did that wake you up in the middle of the night? Reflecting on that.
Well, when it happened, I remember like it was yesterday. When it happened, it was like I couldn't believe that it was like slow motion. I didn't realize what had happened until it was over, and I didn't sleep that well for the next 2 or 3 nights because I
Mm-hmm.
was just like, what did I just do? And after I got over that, I was like, well, I'll probably get another shot, and I did get another shot in 2004. I was playing with DJ Trahan the last round, and except this time I knew what I needed, and I needed birdie on my last hole, and I left my birdie putt out on my
Mm.
last hole to get my tour card, and that was in 2004. So twice I missed get my PGA Tour card by one shot.
I people ask me all the time about my career playing golf, and I said, look, there are more cuts and more qualifiers that I've missed by a shot than I care to remember.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
and I feel where you're coming from. Now, I never got the final stage and didn't miss getting my tour card by a shot. And I can't even remember or imagine the multiplier magnitude of missing getting into, let's say, the Heritage or U.S. Open or something like that. But it the anguish that I know I went through, and it's hard to put into words for anyone out there that might be listening and hasn't gone through that. And all those guys are out there and girls listening that have, they knew exactly what we're talking about.
Right. Yeah, it's when you miss by one shot, it's painful because you're thinking about all the stupid shit you did throughout the day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, simple stuff that like an up and down here or a miss, 3 or 4 footer or just a basic shot that that you normally would make. It's always hard when you miss by 1 or 2 shots because you go over your rounds like, man, I could have done better here, there, whatever. When it's always one shot, you kind of beat yourself up a little bit, but you know that's a part of it, and you have to keep moving and keep it moving.
What did you learn most about yourself after going through that twice?
Well, I knew that I was good enough.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that gave me confidence, but it would have been nice to have gotten a shot to play a whole season. But like, I know that I'm close, and and just for me to just keep working hard, and then persevere. So it for me, I've always felt like that I could play. I still feel that way. It's just a matter of me just being able to just to break through. That's all.
For going back to that time, and as I learned more about you then, and that, like I said, that was the first time that I had seen you. Um, but as I learned more then and through the years, every we have a lot of mutual friends, and everybody has said, and then after playing with you when we talked earlier up in Raleigh, that you had an immense amount of talent. You were going to be the next one of the big things to break through and have a full, very accomplished career on the PGA Tour. What do you think was a reason or the reasons that over the last, say, 20 years that didn't happen? What do you think might have been holding you back?
Well, I guess just life stuff. I um, it got to a point where I started having a little bit of doubt. Because it's especially when you're playing mini tour stuff and then you're not playing as well as you think you should be, and then end up going in through a divorce in 14, and you start thinking a little bit different. So just life stuff really that kind of happened because once. So 2013, I won twice on Latin America, played well that year, um, and got status. Got finished third on the money list. Got back on the nationwide tour, which is the Korn Ferry Tour now in 14, and then I get back out there. I was like, okay, let's do this. I'm ready. And then I go through a divorce in 14, and totally like mine was not where it should have been at all.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then just kind of just struggled a little bit, and so now that's why I just said just life stuff. Stuff happens, and just wasn't able to really you know get it going like I really want to. But now, everything is good. My family's healthy and all that. So, and I'm still working hard, and I'm still playing well. So, um, like I said, I'm gonna keep grinding until I can.
A lot of friends who played professionally, and you know a lot of them. Myself, now I didn't ever get married, but it seemed like when I was playing, I was girlfriends didn't last very long. Um, do you think that the lifestyle of a touring professional weighed heavily on your marriage?
Yeah, yeah. I have some friends that we talk that are now divorced and that played nationwide tour with me, and they
Mm-hmm.
played PJ tour, and we've had some conversations. I was like, yes, I mean you have to have a really understanding wife or girlfriend to stick by you, because I mean it's like golf has to be your girlfriend almost, because you're with your caddy more than you are your family
Mm-hmm.
sometimes. Um, so it can be stressful um, to try to play at a high level and balance all that too. You just, like I said, you have to have a really understanding wife, that understand what you're trying to do and what it takes too, because I mean, you can't if you're going to do it, you can't do it halfway.
No, not when you're trying to reach the elite level in the world.
No, you can't. It just doesn't work. You have to make your practice quality. I mean, but you just can't do it halfway and expect to play good, especially now.
Right. When guys are, as we talk, like the mindset now is fire at everything, and if you're on, you're going to do well. But
Yeah,
and now you throw in a group. Let's say 30% of the field is going to be on at any given time, and they're playing that way. And then you've got to be in that 30%. And even if you have something that's pulling you the other way, that's very important to you, a family, a relationship. Somebody who you're a parent that might be sick, or a cousin or something like that, and it is a big distraction at that. It would be at any level, but once you get to the highest levels where you've got to be really dialed in,
yeah,
it can really throw you off.
it can. You have to. Some guys are better at it than others. Totally shutting that part off where you're not thinking about that. But I mean, at the end of the day, you're human too. You're going to think about stuff like that. So it's hard.
Mm-hmm. One thing I wanted to ask you about, you had gotten the uh, Charlie Sifford Memorial exemption into the Genesis, which is the old LA Open.
Yeah,
Um,
in 2018, yes.
right, and it very well earned. And obviously being going back to when you got started playing at the highest of levels, being one of the only African Americans out there, have you seen the growth of that at the level it should be? And if not, what do you think can be done to spur that on some more, to bring more minorities into the game?
Well, it's funny you say that because, like, after Tiger won the '96 Masters,
Mm-hmm. Not 97.
no, not '97 Masters.
Yeah.
People, that's all you'd hear. It's going to be this huge explosion of black golfers or minority golfers that's going to explode. You did have more African Americans playing golf,
Mm-hmm.
um, and there are a few, like, but as far as playing at that level, um, it's just I think that there's not enough um, African American kids playing golf. Um, I mean, because I mean, if you look at the numbers, even if you look at Q School, I don't know how many contestants they have that sign up for Q School. And Q School is $6,000. That's
Right. It's
just the
not cheap.
right. So then you have, I mean, you might have a handful of guys that go to Q School, and I say handful, I mean like maybe three or four. So I think a lot goes into you know there are guys out there that have potential, that they're in school, but when you come out of school and just say, yeah, it's like, like a lot of kids, they might be okay in college, had some success, and they come out of school and it's like, oh, I think I want to, try to play professional for a year. Um, there are a lot of kids that have that available to where they have the financial backing, and then a
Mm-hmm.
lot of minority kids, not just minority, there's a lot of kids in general,
Who
that
yeah, who
just
probably come from lesser means. Would you
right,
agree?
and I mean, you're not you're not they don't let you play in these tournaments for free. So
No. Mm-mm.
I think that has a lot to do with it, but it starts from the junior golf, going to a good school to play, and then having some financial backing. So I think a lot of that starts at the junior level, being good enough to even give it a shot. But then there are some guys that are good enough to have opportunity, but they just don't have the financial backing.
Do you think the development of the APGA Tour, which you've played on and were leading money winner, is making some inroads into that, giving some African Americans a place to play and
Well,
develop their skill and improve and then draw enough
well,
attention that they get that help?
well, they are getting a lot of attention now, and it's giving guys a taste of what it could be like to play some really good golf courses, to learn how to travel a little bit. But um, it it's it's good that it's doing that, but the level, I mean, like I said, the game has changed. The level that you know the guys need to play on, um, you know, it's just a different level. The
Mm-hmm.
APGA Tour, the golf is good. You have, I mean, about 10 guys that can play, and then there's some guys under that are kind of developing and learning how to play. But when you go play G Pro or Swing Thought Tour and you look at the scores, I mean, those are the scores you need to be shooting. And if you aren't shooting those scores, and then you can't be shooting 72, 73 and think you're going to go to Q school and get through. It's
No.
just not happening. It's not happening. So if you aren't shooting numbers consistently to start with a six, um, you're not going to make it.
No, especially on your home course.
Exactly. Exactly.
If you
But
can't do it where you know everything and you don't have a multitude of variables coming at you, as you alluded to, you got travel, you got hotel, you got gas, where you don't know where you're going. You got all these things coming at you, and then you got to go out and shoot in the 60s
right,
regularly. It's a
right.
hard learning curve for some people.
It is, and the APGA Tour, they're doing a good job of giving guys the opportunity to play, make some money, and get a taste of what it's like, somewhat of playing professional golf. Um, so they are doing a good job with that, and kind of putting the spotlight on some guys and giving them some opportunities. But like I said, at the end of the day, that's a start. And they are playing some, like, we're leaving Saturday. We're playing in Kentucky. We're playing Valhalla.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's going to be a good test for a lot of the guys. Kind of give them a taste of a major championship golf course. Um, so they are doing some good things, but there's you know there's a lot of things that could be a little bit better as well.
Do you still have the Lexus that you won for being a leading money winner?
Yes, still driving it right now.
That's a pretty good looking car. I saw that was one that pulled up some pictures of you because I use them for the promo.
Okay.
Timmy's looking good in front of that Lexus.
Oh yeah, man, it's nice. Hopefully, I'll get a chance to win it again this year, because I don't want to give it up.
I know they're nice cars to drive. It's hard to go back once you've been there. It's kind of like, well, you've played enough big events. It's kind of hard to go back to a developmental or smaller tour once you've been to the highest of tours.
Yeah, it definitely sucks. That's for sure. I can tell you that.
Right? And I'll give you a quick story. When I first started dating my girlfriend, was right when I met you at Raleigh, and we got the passes and the free food and They got the trailer, the repair trailers all around the range, and the ropes and the whole thing. And miss the cut and go back home, and then it's like, hey, where am I going to play? And it's like, okay, Tar Heel started, and so she goes with me to the first event I go to, and it's at Charlotte National. And for anyone who doesn't know, I don't even know if Charlotte National's still there. It's probably 30 miles outside of town, if I remember right, and it's like in the middle of nowhere, and
Uh-huh.
it's just this little golf course, and there's no trailers, there's no TV cameras, and I'm looking at her face while we're driving into the course, and she's just looking around, and I say, not quite the big time anymore, is it? Welcome to single A. I say, you sure you still want to stay with me? She says, oh yeah. Yeah, that was an eye-opening experience for her. I knew it was coming, but she had no idea the difference. She was ready for the lights and the cameras and everything else, and I'm like, well, here's the real deal.
Right, 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 right. Yeah, it's definitely eye opening, and and then a lot of the guys, with me being the older guy, a lot of the guys that play the APGA tour, they reach out to me, for advice. Like some of the guys were getting ready for Mackenzie Q School and stuff like that. And, first time going to a Q school. So a lot of the guys, I've always left my door open. I was like, hey, man, anytime you need to ask me something about something off me, don't hesitate to call. I love doing that stuff kind of, because, I didn't have anyone to really talk to when I first turned professional and was kind of learning the ropes. I was like, anytime any of those guys have any kind of questions about anything, any advice that I could give them, I said, you can call me anytime.
Mm-hmm. For someone who's your entire professional career has been playing golf, practicing, and you understand as well as anybody the amount of commitment it takes. What do you do when you're not playing?
Nothing really. I kind of just hang out with my kids a little bit. I go to the gym a little bit, try to stay in somewhat good shape. And um, I'm kind of boring, man. I don't really do that much.
Okay, like you said earlier, keep it simple,
Yeah.
and do the which as you bring up, you go to the gym. Has that become a part of your routine? As so
Yes.
many professional golfers, especially as you get cross over that 40-year-old mark, and
Yes.
you and I are pushing 50.
Yeah.
Have you noticed any loss of length or swing speed, or has the training been able to help you stay up
You know
to
what?
par?
I've maintained pretty good. You know, yeah, I've maintained pretty well, just trying to keep my flexibility. I do a little bit of strength training. I hit it a little bit harder in the wintertime,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I still can move it out there a little bit for an old guy. So pretty much when I play, I'm not the short ball in my group.
Good. You
Yeah,
gotta catch some eyes from some of these younger kids that say, "What the hell's this old man
yeah.
doing out driving me by 10, 15 yards?"
I tell you what though, I went to a European tour school and I played with this kid from South Africa, Wilco Neymar. Um, and he's playing European tour right now. He's 19 at the time. This kid was playing a different golf course than I was.
That much longer than you.
Oh my God. Like I was telling, I got back home, I was telling Tommy, I was like, this guy's going to be on the PJ tour.
Mm.
Like, yeah, like he moves it. Yeah. He's already won. He won a European tour event, a few weeks ago. His name is Wilco Neymar and he's from South Africa. Um, yeah, I think he was recorded hitting the drive 400 yards already on the European tour.
Jesus.
Yeah,
I've
he's a
seen I've seen that on I think it was Instagram. Somebody had it,
yeah.
and it
I play
is that the kid. It doesn't even look like he's swinging very like Cam Champ. It looks like he's just taking a smooth
right,
swing, and it's like
right. Yes, I played with him two times. I looked at my caddy. I was like, this kid's playing a different golf course than I am.
it has changed so much. I was working with a kid that was in Bluffton, but his family is from South Africa, and he went back there, and he had got a couple years ago. Um, Through first stage at European, was going to second. Asked if I'd come over to to Cape Town and help get him ready for second. We made like a 10-day trip of it. It was amazing. I love that place. It's so beautiful down there.
Uh-huh.
But we had gone up to Johannesburg because I can't remember what tour, it was the Els tour, Ernie Els, or
Okay.
he was back and forth between the Els and the Sunshine. I can't remember which one, but we went to Johannesburg and, I guess you could call it caddied for him. I told him, I said, look, I'm coaching. My caddy days are long behind me. But I guess, walking around with him, I'm caddying for him, so to speak. But you're right. So some of those guys, the distance that they're hitting it uh,
Yeah.
is like, well, this is a different game.
Yeah, and the thing is, what I was telling Tommy is, I was like, I've seen guys hit it long. It's pretty impressive. But I was like, when it was really eye opening, you know, when I saw how long he was, I was like, and sometimes he'd have awkward yardages, like 35 yards, 40 yards.
Mm-hmm.
There's little cut shots, and he was hitting those shots really good too. And I was like, yeah, this kid's a real deal.
Yeah, he's got it all. You remember Victor Schwamkrug?
Oh my God, yeah, I gotta not forget that guy.
God, he used to murder the ball.
Yeah, he played at Houston, right?
I think so. And I remember when he came
Yeah,
out of Nationwide, and I think Hershey, he averaged something stupid, like
yeah,
335 or 40 off the tee.
yeah, yep. I remember that guy.
A lot of people don't know him unless you were playing or you were really involved in following that
Right.
professional golf back then. But Victor was one of the first ones that was just like, yeah, like you just said, this guy's playing another golf course.
Yeah, yeah. So like when I was in college, I played a few times against uh Hank Heaney.
Mm-hmm.
So Hank Heaney was like the long guy too, and then and man, he was long too, but Victor was like stupid long, like next level.
Mm. As you mentioned that you're the some of the tours you've been playing, you're kind of the elder statesman, and you have an open door for younger guys to help them with what you didn't have, kind of whether it's giving back or just to, as people know you, the good person that you are, and it's no surprise to myself or them. What's some of the best advice that you give some of these young players coming up?
Um, well, I guess it varies. I don't know how good the advice is, but like, a lot of guys, when just say I had a guy call me, you know, he was getting ready for uh Q school, Mackenzie tour, Q school, and he was like, he's like, I'm a little bit nervous. Never been to Q school before. I was like, hey man, I was like, don't put any pressure on yourself. It's your first time going. Um, I was like, at all costs, I was like, don't try to be a hero. If you get in trouble, just get out. Don't, because a lot of things, double bogeys kill you.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you make a double bogey, it takes two birdies to get that back. I was like, in Q school, just try to stay away at all costs from double bogeys if you can. Um, it's like, don't put too much pressure on yourself. You kind of just, I didn't get through Q school my first time. I missed by one,
Right.
but but I was like, don't put too much pressure on yourself. Kind of get a feel. He didn't know what to expect. I was like, just go out there, just play your game, and then if you don't get through, it's not a big deal. And then, but you'll know what to expect for next year, just to kind of take the pressure off. I was like, just treat it as another tournament, because a lot of times you go to Q school and people they put more on it than what like it's all this pressure on themselves. I was like, just go out there. It's like it's another tournament. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, and don't put so much on each shot. Just go out there and then just play your own game. Don't even worry about it. If you make a double bogey, that's fine too. But just go out there and try to have fun if you can.
Yeah, I think guys. I remember. I'll never. I mean, you never forget your first Q school.
No,
Mine. I'll never forget. First stage was at Jennings Mill up in
oh my,
Athens,
hate that golf course.
and you could hear a pin drop for the entire week. I mean,
Right.
it was like mini tour events and nationwide guys are you shooting a breeze on the range and kind of laughing at him. But that Q school to me, that was like you. I didn't have really anybody to talk to or bounce things off or see what to expect. And I'm going there.
Yeah.
Went up to a couple of friends of mine who had been playing for years, and we had a short conversation, but I could tell that they didn't. They wanted to pay attention to what they were doing, and for me, it was completely different.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was so I had the Georgia Open at Jennings Mill, and that's not my favorite golf course. It's not. I don't like the golf course, but like number, I don't know if you remember Jennings, but
Mm-hmm.
it's either 9 or 18. That par five with it's a goofy par five,
Yes.
and I was like, I just hate that hole because I've never played it well. I try to go over the creek and it bounces. Like I did that in the Georgia Open this year. I thought I hit a good drive, hit scarp path goes out of bounds, and then it's just not an easy layup. If you hit like a 4-iron or something off the tee, it's just a weird hole.
Right.
But yeah, it's and I was just telling someone about that. I was like, could you imagine coming in this hole, needing it's a par five, but even just needing to make par on the hole, it's not easy. It's just an awkward hole. And I was like, I could not imagine being in Q school with all that pressure, needing to make a par or birdie on that hole.
You're completely numb.
Yeah.
Right. You're on full autopilot.
Yep. Yep. But and I've learned that Q school people, you put a lot of pressure on yourself, and usually you don't perform. I was like, just breathe and just try to relax, and whatever happens. Just kind of just let go if you can.
Yeah, and that's a hard thing to do, and your nerves are at DEFCON 5.
It is
right.
very hard.
But that's why there's only 150 guys who have PGA Tour cards at any given time.
Exactly. It's not meant to be, because if it was easy, everyone would be doing it.
Where are you focused on playing now? Where you're paying attention to and got your goals set and everything else?
Well, like I said, I'm getting ready to go play this APGA event
Mm-hmm.
in Kentucky. We leave Saturday, and then we go to Valhalla in Kentucky, and then the next week we're in TPC New Orleans, TPC Louisiana. I'm sorry, and then so in between, I'm just doing some Monday qualifying, playing some G Pro stuff, and that's pretty much it.
And I'm assuming, safe to assume, you've got your eyes set on the Champions Tour?
Yeah, I'm just going to try to stay healthy. And, I thought I was going to be able to go to Champions Tour School this year because I turned 49 in August,
Mm-hmm.
August 3rd. And you can go to Champions Tour School when you're 49, but I find that I can't go because I have to turn 50 before June 1st of next year. So I'll wait till next year to go to Q school now.
And Scott Perel, our buddy Scott, who's been on the show, is he kind of like an inspiration for you?
Most definitely.
Yeah, what he's done is amazing, isn't it? It's great to see. And as we talked before we came on, he's such a good guy. And I don't know if there's anyone. I'm sure there's maybe someone out there that we don't know that's very deserving, but there's not many more deserving than Scott and the time that he put in over the years to get to where he is today.
I totally agree with that.
Is there anything else you're doing, like help, whether it's young kids or some other, where you might be teaching around Savannah or doing any type of mentor programs that people can check out at?
Savannah's just they're getting a first tee program back here that's supposed to be starting up pretty soon. So I'm helping out with that. That's about it as far as just with working with kids. But yeah, the first tee in Savannah is supposed to be starting up again here soon.
Cool. I hope it does very well. If I can ever do anything for you guys, let me know.
I will definitely reach out to you.
If you had a mulligan to do anything over again, what would it be? Life, golf, you name it.
I probably would have hit hybrid off number 18 in 2000. It would have been nice to have a 4-year on a PGA Tour with a 4 PGA Tour card. So yeah, that's if I had a mulligan, that would be one.
Cool. It's understandable. You want to do some rapid fire, and I'll let you go. I'm sure you got some practicing or something else important to do. And they call it the emergency 9 because there's 9 questions. Always wrap up with 9. So let's go. All right. So let's say you get in the Canadian Open, what they call it, the Palmetto. A couple of weeks, and you win it, and they pick you for the Ryder Cup. What would be your walk-up song to the first hole?
Oh my God. Started from the bottom, now we're here.
That's a pretty good one there. Let's see, Tin Cup or Caddyshack?
Caddyshack.
I think I'm the same. I think it has to do with our age.
Yeah.
Let's see. Best golfer you ever played with?
Probably Anthony Kim.
God, that kid was good, wasn't he? I shouldn't say
Yeah.
kid. He's not that much younger than, but everybody wishes that he would come back.
Yeah.
Uh, Biggest celebrity in your phone since you've been at a high level, know a lot of people. A lot of people were curious to say. Ask Tim who his biggest celebrity is that he has in his contact list.
Well, I don't have Will's number anymore. Um, huh.
And you know, if they didn't want you to say, you don't have to say it.
Yeah, I
Sometimes they
probably
keep it
should.
quiet. Okay.
I probably should do that one.
No problem. I get it. There's some in my phone that I said, hey, you got your shit. Don't try not to. No problem. Value the friendship more than I value just name dropping.
Right, right.
Let's best course you ever played. Since you've played around the world, I'm sure you've played a number of them. This probably not a rapid answer, but be curious to hear what you say of all the courses you've played.
Well, man, I'm gonna say Valhalla since I'm going there next week.
I don't think you get much argument.
No,
A couple more. Best swing in professional golf.
Louis Oosthuizen.
Yeah, that's sweet to watch, isn't it?
Yeah.
And speaking of not wanting to hit it too long or swing too hard, there's a guy who said he swings so that he can play the rest of his life and not blow something out or
I know,
strain
right?
anything. And
That's why I like poetry in motion.
right. If you could change one rule in golf, which one would it be?
Uh, Being able to take your ball out of a divot in the middle of the fairway.
Yeah, I agree. U.S. Open qualifier you got coming up for sections. I went to one in Midland Valley, and the first 5 holes I hit it down the fairway, and was in a divot in every one.
Man, you have worse luck than
My
Tommy
caddy
Shaft.
looked at me and said, "What? Who did you piss off this morning?"
You know what? You and Tommy Shaft. Tommy hits in more divots in the fairway than anyone that I know. And I was like, man, what did you do?
I could probably tell you a few things he's done, but we'll leave that. I'll get you and him on together, and we'll have a hell of a time.
Yes, you need to get him on.
Yes, and I got to met because I've lost his number. I've got to get it back, and I miss hanging out with Tommy. He's such a good dude. Let's see, two more. Dream foursome. Anybody, past or present, whoever you want to play with. Who would be your dream foursome?
Uh, Tiger will be one. Um, uh, Man, Greg Norman and probably Louis Oosthuizen.
It'd be a pretty good group.
Yeah.
What would be the game in that foursome? Playing all singles, you teaming up and playing better ball.
No, it'd be
Be
everyone
all
against.
on, one down
Yeah. Yep.
presses,
Exactly.
auto
Exactly.
press, and one down.
Yep.
And the last one, who's the goat in your opinion, Tiger or Jack?
Well, considering I never seen Jack play, like in person, or anything like that. Man, that's a hard one. I mean, I still got to go a Tiger.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Even though I know Jack's won more majors, but man, I still got to go a Tiger in my mind.
It's as I say just about every show. It's a very hard decision, and it's hard to go wrong with either.
Right.
Right, and usually it
Right.
depends on era that somebody grew up watching.
Yeah. I mean, the guy that what Tiger, what you've seen hit that guy, what he's done, and it's just unbelievable, to be honest. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
because when he was good, he was like head and shoulders. It was no one's touching him.
Right, wasn't he
I mean,
like triple the amount of world number one points above the guy who was second?
yeah,
Something
yeah.
stupid.
I mean, and when you grow up watching that, and you see, I remember when Jordan Spieth was doing his thing, and it was like he's going to be better than Tiger, and I was like, you might need to
No.
pump the brakes on that one.
Yeah, I mean, I like Jordan. I think the world of him.
Yeah.
But when they were making that comparison, I said, look, Jordan's like a supercharged V6. I said, Tiger's like a V10. Right?
Right.
He's got extra gears that other golfers didn't have.
Right. Yeah.
So as good as Jordan was, and he seems to be coming back, and wish him all the best and hope he does. I mean, if he does break some of Tiger's records or all of them, hey, more power to him. But I don't see it. Maybe somebody does, but that's not to take away from him being a great golfer in person. It's just, hey, you're talking about the greatest of all time.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
All right. If somebody wanted to follow you, social media handles, and I always put the links in the in the summary in the description. But you're on social media. I mean, that's how we connected. But go ahead and tell everybody where they can look you up and follow you, cheer for you.
Yeah, I'm my handle is Tim O'Neill 00. I'm terrible at posting stuff though, so you're probably not going to see much there. But Tim O'Neill, you might see some tournaments here and there, but I'm terrible. I guess I'm old school. I need to get better. That's one thing I need to get better at, is posting stuff, because I feel stupid doing stuff like that.
Well, you got a lot of fans here locally, and I'm sure abroad. We're all behind you. Wish you all the best in the success that we all know that you're more than capable of having. So I'd love to have you out when you get a break, and I'll stay in touch with you now that I've got your cell, and then won't wait 15 years to call you again. But definitely got to get with you and Tommy, and if not to play golf or just hang out and have some lunch or dinner or whatever, a couple beers, it'd be great to catch up again.
Definitely, and thanks for having me on.
Absolutely.
I'd love to be on again.
Oh, I'll have you on again. We're definitely going to do it. You have a great day, Tim.
You too. Talk to you later.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to today's show. If you enjoyed it, you can find more information on today's episode and other topics at golf360.blog. There you'll find the show notes and links related to this episode, as well as any other episode that we've done so far to date. If you're interested in improving your game and would like to learn more from yours truly by taking a private lesson, a half-day or multi-day school, club or putter fitting, you can reach me through the blog site or by email, pete@golf360.blog. So some of you may be asking, what is the golf paradigm? All you have to do is click on the homepage while on my blog site to discover how you can start playing better than you ever thought possible. Or you can simply sign up, again, on the blog page for my instructional videos where I give regular tips on all areas of the game, to include the swing, club design and fitting, health, fitness and nutrition, the mental aspects, and equally as important, the integration of all those things together. I'm also on social media, and you can find me at The Golf Paradigm. That's PARADIGM. And I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, also under the same name, The Golf Paradigm. Facebook is usually the best way to reach me for questions and or comments, and I look forward to hearing what all of you have to say. This podcast is brought to you in part by Old South Golf Links. A short ride across a bridge from Hilton Head Island is one of the area's finest golf courses and a hidden treasure. Set up on towering pines and ancient oaks with sweeping marsh vistas, truly makes Old South Golf Links a one-of-a-kind golfing experience. The Clyde Johnson design was named one of the top 10 new public courses when it opened, and it also takes full advantage of the natural beauty of the Lowcountry. Old South is a fun and unique challenge for golfers of every skill level and a favorite of both locals and visitors. Whether it's your first time here or you're a regular, you'll be treated and feel like family. From the bag drop to check-in at the fully stocked pro shop with both men's and women's apparel, to breakfast or lunch before or after your round, the staff is always ready and willing to help. Experience for yourself why Old South is one of the premier golf courses in the Hilton Head area and why it will quickly become a favorite of yours too. Visit them in person or online at www.oldsouthgolf.com, or to make it tee time, simply call the pro shop at 843-785-5353.